Psychosocial theory. Psychosocial theory was given by Erik Erikson in 1963. Psych means mind, social means society. As per Erik Erikson, it is the society which grows the mind. It is not the sexual fantasies which grows the mind, it is the society which grows the mind. How the society grows the mind? Let's see the principle of this theory. Society throws a task, that means a work, onto the child at every stage. Society throws a task or a work onto the child at every stage, and how a child does that work or task lead to an outcome. Society throws a task, child solve the task or solve the work, and how the child respond to the task leads to an outcome, that is a result. If the child is able to do the task, there is a positive outcome. If the child is unable to do the task, it is a negative outcome. If the child does the task successfully, it is a positive outcome. Otherwise, it is a negative outcome. So this is the principle of psychosocial theory. That's the reason we call this theory also by name theory of developmental task. So psychosocial theory is also known as theory of developmental task. We have 8 stages of psychosocial theory. Some authors use the term crisis instead of stages. Crisis means the most difficult situation, or you can say do or die situation. Do or die situation means child either has to do the work. If he is able to do the work, positive outcome. Otherwise, there is a negative outcome. So in every stage, it is positive outcome versus negative outcome. So this is the basic of psychosocial theory. Stages of psychosocial theory. We have 8 stages of psychosocial theory. First 5 stages matches with 5 stages of psychosexual theory. In psychosexual theory, we have seen that oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage, latency and genital. So the first stage which matches with oral stage of psychosexual theory is basic trust versus mistrust. Basic trust versus mistrust. The first basic trust is a positive outcome. The mistrust is a negative outcome. It matches with oral stage, that is 0 to 18 months of life. Second stage which matches with the anal or urethral stage of psychosexual theory is autonomy versus shame or doubt. Autonomy versus shame or doubt. 1.5 to 3 years is the time when you see this stage. Third stage which matches the phallic stage of psychosexual theory is initiative versus guilt. Initiative versus guilt seen in 3 to 5 years, and first thing is always positive outcomes versus negative outcome. So initiative is positive outcome, guilt is a negative outcome. Here autonomy was positive outcome, shame or doubt was negative outcome. Fourth stage which matches with the latency stage of psychosexual theory is industry versus inferiority. Industry versus inferiority seen in 5 to 11 years of age. So industry is a positive outcome, inferiority is a negative outcome. Fifth stage which matches with the genital stage of psychosexual theory is identity versus role confusion. Identity versus role confusion seen in 11 to 18 years of age. Identity is a positive outcome, role confusion is a negative outcome. These are 5 first stages which matches with the 5 stages of psychosexual theory. Now rest 3 stages are independent. 6th stage is intimacy versus isolation. Intimacy versus isolation seen in 18 to 21 years of age. 7th stage is generativity versus stagnation. Generativity versus stagnation seen in 45 years and above. 8th stage or the last stage is integrity versus despair. Ego integrity versus despair seen in 65 years and above. When the child turns 65 and above, you see ego integrity versus despair. So ego integrity is a positive outcome, despair is a negative outcome. So the first before verses all are positive outcome, after verses all are negative outcome. The first stage is basic trust versus mistrust. Whenever you have to write the stages of psychosocial theory, write under 3 headings: introduction, positive outcome and negative outcome. So introduction, positive outcome and negative outcome, and in introduction you have to write a task. task which is given by the society to child. If the child is able to solve the task, he develop a positive outcome. Otherwise, if the child is unable to perform the task, he develop a negative outcome. So, basic trust versus mistrust, it's the first stage of psychosocial theory. Task given to the child by the society is to understand dependence and trust. Task is to understand dependence and trust. So, in this stage, everything of the child revolves around the oral cavity. Child needs, child hunger, child emotions are centered around the oral cavity. For example, if child is hungry, he'll cry with oral cavity. If the child is feeling alone, he'll cry with oral cavity. So everything is centered around the oral cavity. If the mother is there whenever the child needs the mother, if the child is hungry, mother comes and feed the child. If the child is feeling alone, mother is there to with the child. So child develop a positive outcome. That means child develop a trust and dependence on the mother and the parents. These type of children get to trust the people and the friends when they become adult. So that's a positive outcome. Negative outcome means when the child needs a mother, mother is not there with the child, then child does not develop a trust and dependence on the mother and the parents. So they develop mistrust on the mother and the parents. These type of children, they do not trust people when they become adult very easily. So this is the positive outcome and the negative outcome, and the stage is positive outcome is basic trust versus mistrust. Task was to understand dependence and trust. If the mother is there with the child, whenever the child needs the mother, positive outcome is there, that is trust, otherwise mistrust. Second stage of psychosocial theory, autonomy versus shame or doubt. This stage matches with the anal or urethral stage of psychosexual theory. So introduction, it's a second stage of psychosocial theory. What is the task in this stage? The task is to understand freedom. The task is to understand freedom. Here the child is 1.5 to 3 years of age now, and he now gets a control on anal or urethral sphincters. So he wants to go to toilet at his own. He is learning to walk and talk, and he want to go to toilet at his own. So what is child searching? Child is searching for independence or moving away from the parents for all these activities. Positive outcome, if the parents support the child at every stage, child feels autonomous, which is other name of freedom. So if the parents support the child for walking, for talking or toilet habits, child feels autonomous or freedom. Negative outcome, if the parents curtails or disagree with all the child activities, child feels ashamed of his habits and may doubt his abilities. Okay, so child feel ashamed and may doubt his abilities. That is a negative outcome of this stage. Third stage of psychosocial theory, initiative versus guilt. Initiative versus guilt matches with the phallic stage of psychosexual theory. So introduction, it is the third stage of psychosocial theory. What is the task in this stage? Task is to understand situations and action. Task is to understand situations and action. This is the stage when the child is 3 to 5 years of age. Now child is going to play school first time and he's out of the home first time. So child goes to play school or KG school. So when the child goes to school, parents say a lot of things to the child. Don't fight, don't steal, don't shout, respect your teachers, wish your teachers. So the child is given a lot of concepts to the parents that what is right, what is wrong. So child is now learning new concepts, understanding new things and understanding what is right, what is wrong, what he should do, what he should not do. So this is the task here. So the child is basically learning new concepts and understanding new things. What's the positive outcome? Positive outcome, new actions are taken by the child to handle situations, which is known as initiative. So initiative means any new action taken to handle the situation. Here the parental guidance is very important. What the parents have taught to the child, how the superego is working, that what we should not do, what we should do. So child is taking initiatives, means new actions to handle the situations. Because child is making the concept of right and wrong. What's the negative outcome? Guilt. Guilt means bad feeling when wrong actions are done. If the child feels that he is not taking the right action, or when he is not understanding the concept of right and wrong, he feels the guilt. That is the negative outcome. Fourth stage, industry versus inferiority. This stage matches with the latent stage of psychosexual theory. Introduction, it's a fourth stage of psychosocial theory, that is industry versus inferiority. The task in this stage is to understand competitiveness. Task is to understand competitiveness. Now the child is 3 to 6 years of age in this stage and he enters the class 1 or grade 1. So child is learning new activities like reading and playing sports. This is the time that child try to impress the teachers and try to make more friends, and he wants or she wants to be number 1 in the class or any subject. So in this stage, what is more important is that industry. Industry means group of friends which share common interest. For example, a child is good in a subject like maths. He will make an industry or group of friends who are good in maths. And if the child is good in playing football, he'll make the friends who will have the same interest of playing football. And he or she wants to be number 1 in that. That is known as industry. So here the role of teachers and the parents are very important. For example, what is industry? Making group of friends with same interest, and child want to make the industry and want to be number one in that. Why teachers and parents? What is important here? Teachers should not compare the poor child who is not good in one subject to the child who is good in other subject, and who is good in the same subject. So there should be no comparison, and teacher should give more time to the child who is not good in one subject. Otherwise, that child become inferior or feel inferior. That is a negative outcome. If parents or teacher compare the child and do not support or guide the child, he may or she may feel inferior in the group. That is inferiority. For example, if we have two kids A and B both are not good in maths, child A, father gives him time in maths in the evening, whereas the B child who is not good in maths, the father doesn't give time to the B child. After some time, A can form an industry because he is getting taught by the parents in the evening, whereas the B child remain inferior in the group. So that is industry versus inferiority. Fifth stage, identity versus role confusion. This is the fifth stage of psychosocial theory, and this stage matches with the genetic stage of psychosexual theory. Introduction, the task is to understand one own self. The task is to understand one own self. Now the child is entering adolescence. He is becoming a mature individual. Child is 13 years and above now. He is also a responsible social human being. In males, reproduction of sperm starts. In the females, menstrual cycle starts. So, in this stage, the child asks question to himself, who am I? Why I have come to this world? What is the purpose of me coming to this earth? Whether I want to become a doctor or an engineer or something else. So this is the stage when the child asks question to himself. Positive outcome, if the child understands why he has come to this world, he became a very strong individual or a strong adolescent, also known as strong identity. He can plan his future very well, he can make goals very well, and he can also plan his vacations very well. Otherwise, on the contrary, negative outcome, if child doesn't understand why he has come to this world, he emerges out to be a confused adolescent or a confused identity, where he is very poor in making goals and even planning his future properly. So this is identity versus role confusion. Intimacy versus isolation. This is the sixth stage of psychosocial theory. So the task is to understand relationship. The task is to understand the relationship. Now the child is 18 to 21 years of age, and he or she enters the college and goes for studies outside the home. He or she shares the room in the hostel and understand to compromise or sacrifice if he or she want to make friends or share a room in the hostel or want to be in relationship. So the positive outcome is if the child understands how to make or maintain the relationship by doing sacrifices or compromises, he develops an intimate relationship and has a positive outcome of intimacy. Otherwise, if he or she doesn't understand importance of relationship and how to maintain relationship by doing sacrifices or compromises, he feel or she feel isolated. that is intimacy versus isolation. Seventh stage, generativity versus stagnation. This stage is the seventh stage of psychosocial theory and is seen when the child is 45 years and above. The task is to understand sharing experiences. Child has lived almost half of his life and has gained lot of experiences personally and professionally. He knows how to grow professionally and personally. He has lot of experiences. He has a lot to tell to other people how to achieve in life and how to do in life. So positive outcome is generativity, means guiding next generations or helping them or nurturing them. When this child who is 45 years now is able to guide the next generation or to nurture the next generation or to tell them how to make goals, how to invest, how to do in life, this is known as generativity. Negative outcome is stagnation. Stagnation means which is not flowing. Stagnation means which is stopped or there is no progress. So when the child is not guiding the next generations or he doesn't have anything to guide or no progress to share, this is known as stagnation. So generativity versus stagnation. Ego integrity versus despair. This is the eighth stage of psychosocial theory. Now the child is 65 years and above. The task is to understand the life cycle. Task is to understand the life cycle. He has or she has lived almost major portion of his or her life, seen all the ups and downs of the life. What's the positive outcome? Positive outcome is ego integrity, which means child feels that I have done the best of my life. The purpose of my life is solved. I have done what I could have, what I can in this life. So he or she accepts death with positivity, and this is known as ego integrity. Negative outcome is despair. Despair is the vice versa of ego integrity, which means child feels that he has not done anything in this life and he or she feels unsatisfied. He is also afraid of dying. So this is despair. So ego integrity versus despair. So this is the eighth and the last stage of psychosocial theory.